And we're back, guys. Episode 2, Season 1, Tales of the Lockbox. We're in the studio. I'm so stoked to introduce our guest. We got Rahim here today. And Rahim, thank you for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
The idea here is that I just want to get together with some of my friends in real estate, have a couple drinks at tequila or whatever your drink is of choice, and just talk about what's going on, who you are, how you got here, and if you got something fun to share, we're going to get there. So before we go, the first thing we do always out here is we got this Chicora nice tequila. It was gifted to me recently. Got one for you and one for me. We can sip it back. Cheers, my man. Thank you for coming. As agents, we usually need a little drink, right?
Tell me about it.
So Rahim, tell us, man, you're an agent. You know, people might not know you. Tell us what you were doing. Let's just start off what you were doing before you got into real estate.
Sure. So, real estate's been something that I've always been doing. Right out of school, I started out with an urban development undergrad, which was heavily concentrated on real estate development. Was sort of the organic next step to move into the real estate world. It took a couple of months to try and figure out where in this wonderful world of real estate I fit into, and brokerage seemed to be the natural progression for me. I did start out on the commercial real estate side of things. So over about an 11-year career, I probably spent about 8.5 in the commercial real estate world. Residential has sort of been a transition for me in 2020.
So you've been trading for 11 years as a realtor?
That's right.
Wow, I didn't know that. And 8 years of that was all commercial.
All commercial.
So you got to a point probably, because from what I know of commercial, it's like it's a lot. The first 2 to 3 years are so much harder. Like in residential, you can make it in the first 2-3 years. You can start making money. In commercial, you got to grind it out. And then after year 2 and 3 is when you really start to get there. So you made it to a point probably in commercial where you had a successful business going.
For sure. And you're totally right. I mean, like those first few years are your most formative years. And I think I got to a point though where I was, going into the office on a Saturday and spending my time looking at residential real estate. I was a whole lot more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, if you will, about residential real estate. Did get the sense that, the complexity of the commercial real estate world, the sophistication of the commercial real estate world would translate over very well for me on the residential front. So I took a chance, and I mean, I'm happy I did, because it definitely did pan out. Well, hey, like there's a lot of deals out there.
Yeah,
someone's got to do them.
Yeah, I like that. Someone's got to do them. Might as well be you. So this transition that you made to res, was that pre or post COVID-19?
That was
or like right in it.
Well, that was basically during it.
So like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Today.
So more or less. So a company that I had been following for a few years was where I'm currently at, Properly, and they were doing some pretty interesting things, trying to leverage the tech side of things. I'd say more or less experimenting in smaller markets like Calgary and Ottawa. And once the formula was right, they decided to open up shop in Toronto. I got in touch and ended up, being their second agent on the ground here. Was definitely, it's a new platform, new way of doing things. So at the time, definitely a gamble to some degree, but the market and the marketplace appreciates the model. That the entire model, to give you some color there, is buy, move, then sell. Mm-hmm. And so essentially Properly will guarantee and offer a price for your existing home, which will in turn allow you to leverage all the equity that you have in that home to go and buy your next home first. Once you're fully settled into it, we'll take the blank canvas that is your old vacant home, get it on the market, and sell it for top dollar. In the interim period, of course, you're going to have you're going to have bridge financing to cover. You're
Mm.
going to have your existing mortgage to cover as well as your new one. We'll take those costs away from you, and we do cover the bridge loan payments, and we do cover the existing mortgage while we have the house on the market.
Wow.
And once we're sold, well, you're all done.
You'll even it out or
Yeah.
whatever happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea there, which is awesome, is that from what I gather and what I know and we've talked about and what I understand from a brokerage level is that you're at a brokerage now that's supporting you with more so buyer leads right now. Sorry, seller leads. To some extent,
So
or
I mean,
buyer and seller leads. There's leads being generated. For
right,
you.
right. Well, they be both.
They're
I mean,
both.
typically anybody that's fit, I guess, for the Properly model typically owns a home
Right.
and has some equity in that home.
They're not a
that they
first
wish-
time buyer for the most
They're
part.
typically not a
You're
first time
moving to
buyer.
your second house, you've owned one, or you own a condo, you move into a house, and usually it's probably going to lead you to like a sell and a buy.
That's right.
Right. So
That's
you're
right.
doing both sides of it and you're covering that journey.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like I'm sure that brings you like a lot of I feel like, being in a brokerage right now, running a brokerage right now that also generates leads for agents, but seeing the side of their journey, it's cool to see that like, and I feel like our model, we're pushing people forward, we're helping agents skyrocket, like jump forward, like by
Mhm.
doing so many transactions, you're learning at such a rapid rate, and it's cool
For
to
sure.
see that like how in 2 years with this model of probably doing so X amount of deals frequently of buying and selling people's homes and having that middle ground, you've really like just jumped forward in the marketplace. Like I know in the area where I live, you're buying and selling homes there all the time.
Totally. I mean, I think one of the interesting pieces for me was having been a cold caller for essentially all of my career. Banging out calls in industrial parks all across the GTA, to all of a sudden meeting people organically through the company
That are like in.
right, who have a need. It's current and are looking for a different way of doing things. Has definitely been a lot easier on the business development side of things. That said, every situation is going to be unique, and it's going to come with its unique challenges.
Of course.
And
Real estate.
of course, and in some cases, I mean, like not everybody's right for the model. So
For sure.
there's definitely some careful tailoring, I guess, to each person's solution in that case.
And it's a cool product, and that you have the ability to offer a solution, and it's a unique elevator pitch or offering that you
Mhm.
have. So one of my main questions is like hearing this all. It's like there was a defining moment, I feel, in like, or was there a defining moment? So here, let me rephrase that. Was there a defining moment in your real estate career, this 11-year career that you've had so far, being in two separate sides of the industry, that's like it's been a defining moment as a realtor for you?
Well, one of the things I could point at, that the pandemic was certainly a moment that gave me some pause.
As a commercial realtor.
In general, I mean, I
Okay.
think that it was just a little bit of a moment to sit back and think about what I really want to be doing, you know, for the remainder of my career. And having been at a certain point where, I was not quite excited about what I was doing on a daily basis. I was spending a lot of time looking at residential deals, following the residential market
As a
and
commercial agent.
as a commercial agent.
Uh-huh.
And to some degree, there's always the fear that, well, you've spent a long time and a long enough runway building up your book of business on one side of the fence, it would be pretty difficult to walk away from that and try and replicate that success on the other side.
Mm.
So that was really the thing that held me back for a couple of years. I mean, like, I had been thinking about this for a while, but with this unique opportunity that Properly presented, I mean, it, to me, sure, there was always going to be a little bit of risk associated with it, no matter which avenue I went down.
Changes
But
risk. There's risk.
exactly.
There's risk in
And
not changing as well.
totally. And so, really thinking about it and where I see my life going the next 5, 10, 20 years, I just think happiness was sort of the center of it. And if I'm not really, um, entrenched in what I'm doing, if I'm not loving what I'm doing, I just think that I think you miss out on a certain level of success there. And I'll tell you one thing.
Personal success.
Totally. And having moved over to the residential real estate side of things, it's definitely been a game changer for me.
I feel like you're working more.
Absolutely, but I'm at that point where it doesn't quite feel like work all the time.
Right.
I mean, the greatest change I think has been consistently working 7 days a week, which was not something you would do very often.
Because commercials 9 to 5.
Businesses close on the weekend.
That's it. And no one's talking to you after 5, 6 o'clock at night.
Right. And so
now you're working in Costa Rica at your friend's wedding. You're working. Yeah, your best friend's getting married, and you're doing a deal.
I had to take a call on horseback in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica because it had to do with a deal that I needed to get over the finish line by the end of the day.
Follow Rahim on Instagram. You can see a reel. He made a reel about it. It was really good. He doesn't jump behind the camera a lot, but he made this reel and I loved it. That's why we're here.
All credit to my partner there. I mean, like she was secretly...
She was fed up is what she was.
She was secretly filming all of these moments, jumping on the phone by the pool at dinner. I've got my MacBook. We're in this beautiful setting overlooking the valleys in Costa Rica, incredible food, some of my best friends beside me. And here I am with my MacBook trying to get something done. So, I mean, there was moments like that for sure that were filmed without my knowledge. But it did lead to a pretty entertaining reel by the end of the trip for sure.
What's interesting about that? It's like, you talked about a couple of things. Like I think one of the key things, and that's why I made this podcast, I want to have fun. I want to be happy. I want to I said this before on another episode. It's like, you can make $1 million a year, but if you're fucking miserable and you're going home at the end of the day, what the hell is the point of it?
What's the point?
I'd rather make $60,000 a year and go work at Foot Locker, but I'm happy than to do that, right? And it's interesting to see. So that was a cool thing that you just mentioned, but I think there was another realtor who recently posted this video on Instagram. I don't know if you saw it. He posted this. His name is Matt Campioli. He made this video where he was like, it looked like he was getting ready for his wedding day. I don't know. Did you see this?
No, I haven't
made
seen
this
that.
reel. I'll send it to you after, where he's like getting ready for his wedding day. He's in his tux. It's like his buddy's there. He's like, bro, you ready? Like, you ready? And then he goes, yeah. He goes, I think she's the one. Like, are you sure? He goes, yeah, I think she's the one. And he walks outside and he's like running to a for sale sign. He's making sure his listing side. So it's like this so funny plan. Why I bring that up is because being in residential real estate, I've been in for I think 5 years now, and I'm managing a team and I'm doing real estate 24/7, like you are in residential.
Mm-hmm.
It's like our partners, it sucks, right? And there's other reels, you can see them on Instagram. Other agents are doing this. We're somewhat married to residential real estate, right? You know what? It's got to happen. On my wedding day, I remember an agent called me and I was getting ready and she's just like, hey, I got an offer and you're listening. And I was like, I'm 30 seconds from walking out of the altar. I got to go. And I did it. I said, I'm out, but that call happened.
Right.
And it's funny to say, you got to find that balance, but we work it. It happens. You do it, right? And that's,
for sure.
It's one of my favorite parts of residential real estate, but at the same time, it's one of the things that I'm just like, fuck, I wish I just had a break and could turn off my phone for 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, one of my only challenges stepping into the residential real estate world was finding that balance. And it's, I'm not going to sit here and say that I found it and that, everything's hunky dory. It definitely creates some, complicated moments at home.
It happens.
I've got a meal that's been, we've been working on for 2 hours. It's finally on the table. I get a call and I got to get up and leave. Nobody loves that.
Yeah.
But you got to do what you got to do. And at the end of the day, I think, my clients, they come first. should rephrase that. My clients and my partner come first, but she's understanding enough of what we're doing and what we're trying to build together.
It needs to happen.
Absolutely. And there has been, I will say that, there's been some learning moments for sure. I think one of the biggest key areas that realtors could probably tap into is just setting boundaries with your clients, and trying to do that from the beginning, so that you're not necessarily running around every single time your phone buzzes. Your clients surely understand that you're a human being. You've got a life as well. And, as much as you want to provide the greatest level of service possible, you still have a life to live.
And they got to respect that, right? Like people, I want to sell your place for I will sell your place for the most of money. I will get you that dream home. But at the same time, I got an 8-month-old baby at home who's cute as hell. And you know what? He's going to bed in 25 minutes from now. And I want to give him a bubble bath right now. Like
Yeah.
that's my life right now.
Right.
Literally. It's like, and I've, and to layer it on, I got agents that I'm helping support all the time. Like my phone's ringing. We've been sitting here. My phone has not stopped buzzing in my pocket since the second you sat down. It doesn't stop, right? But I find one thing that one of my mentors, but somebody that I look up to highly in the real estate industry. He's somebody I work with at Properly.ca, condos.ca right now. He uses this term non-negotiables. And he's a very systematical individual. If he's watching this, he's going to know who I'm talking about. And if you know him, you know who I'm talking about. He always says these non-negotiables. And when I had my son, when I was with my wife and with my partner, it was like, okay, you know what? I could bleed these moments a little bit. Yeah, we made this dinner, but you know what? Listen, I'm working on a big deal here. It's important. This is the moment that I got to step out for 15 minutes. But now I'm finding that now that I have a son, I'm less likely to give up that moment. And I'm more in tune to say, hey, I'll call you back in 20 minutes. Like, I get it. Whereas before I would answer it right away. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, I know what I got to do. I'm going to get the job done. But this moment that I'm experiencing right now, this is more important to me. Unfortunately, not that yours is not important, but this moment, I can't get this back.
No.
I'm not going to get my son running around naked, like giggling like this again. You get little kids one time. I heard this on Instagram. You get little kids for 4 years, one time. If you miss it, it's gone. That's it. And I'm like, I want to be the best real estate agent I can be. I want to work super hard. I want to do every deal that I got to do. I want to do right by my agents that work for me and help them and train them and get them to grow. But you know what? I also want to be a dad right now.
For sure.
All right. And this guy said, you got to set non-negotiables, and those things don't switch. Right. And like,
so
how do you feel about that? Like that non-negotiable.
I like it. And, if I were to, where I'm currently at, figuring out some of those non-negotiables is definitely on the radar. But I'm actually kind of curious to know, what are your non-negotiables like now with marriage, with fatherhood in the picture, with you've got a team of 75 agents that you have to manage, and you're in part responsible for their success.
For sure.
So how does that balance work for you in terms of the non-negotiables?
So I think, and that's a wicked question, and I'm so glad you asked. Like, that's what we're here for, like, to shoot the shit. I think it's always changing. Like, as much as there's a few that I could say that I don't think they're going to change too much, it's changing daily, right? So the number one right now, I could tell you that I got a non-negotiable that at least 3 times a week, I'm home for bedtime, no matter what. If I have to move clients around for showings, if I since I've had a son, I do showings at 8:30 at night now. Way more than I had a showing that I walked into a couple weeks ago, and the security guard's like, "Sir, it's 10 o'clock at night," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, we're here." Like, what do you want me to tell you? So, like, bedtime 3 times a week with my son, critical. Date night at least once a month now, because maintaining a relationship with my wife is incredibly important. I got all these other things, and that started to slip a bit. So date night once a month, bedtime 3 times a week. I want to make sure that I have at least half an hour to an hour, and I'm pushing that more and more, of me time a day. And I'm finding more and more that went from before having a kid to 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. And now I'm I'm trying as hard as I can to 5 a.m. 5 a.m. gives me that big window. 5 a.m. gives me a huge leg up on the day. So baby time, wife time, me time. Those are my top 3 that no matter what's going to happen in my life, I got to make sure that those 3 are happening. That's my most important thing.
Yeah.
Then when you get into a business perspective, obviously, I'm always going to do right by my clients first. I'm going to work the hardest. I'm going to work hard to help them. But having a team, which you asked about, is critical. So we have 2 offices. I'm managing one office at Yonge and Sheppard. And my biggest thing is that I want to make sure that for at least 3 to 4 hours of my day, I'm at the office. I'm having people come in. I'm working with them. I'm adding value to their lives. They've chosen to work with us and come under our leadership and be part of our team. So I want to make sure that 3 to 4 days a week, 3 to 4 hours every single day, I'm there, I'm with them, I'm helping them. Everything else falls into play from there. And now I'm building systems where I'm like, hey, I do this type of training or I do this type of program on Mondays. I come in on Wednesdays at this time, we're going to have that. So having the time for my family, having the time for me, having the time for my agents, and then everything else that I got to do in a day, which is 1,000,001 other things, fit in line wherever the hell else they could fit it to.
If only we had 25 hours in a day.
Or there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing. I mean, one of the big questions I have, and if you don't have it right off the bat, I'm happy to share one for you. Tales of the Lockbox. We talk about it. I get it now. So now I'm backstorying it. Now I know you've shifted into this real estate, this residential 2 years ago, right? So you've had your experiences. Commercial, it's so dry, right? Like from my small experience of it, it's like I don't feel like there's nothing fun happening there for the most part, right? You're not.
Yeah, I mean, you can have your moments of fun for sure. But at the end of the day, you are dealing with business owners, C-suite executives. It's
black and white.
It's not quite the same.
Residential, there's like free range, like
totally.
So the Tales of the Lockbox. The idea here is, what's a story you have? If you don't have one that you want to share, it's cool. I might have one if you want me to share one. I can spit one at you that might be fun. I got a bunch that I've thought about. But if you got something you want to share, let's. What's your tale from the Lockbox?
Okay, I'm gonna give that some thought real quick.
I got one. I got one that I'll share with you.
Shoot.
And while I'm talking, maybe you got one coming up. Okay. So I'm not gonna go because you don't got juice right now. So I'm not gonna give you my best story.
Well,
I got a lot of episodes to fill.
I think a part of it is also just having moved into residential real estate during a pandemic.
There hasn't been a lot of person on person. There's not a lot of stuff happening.
No,
that's what I'm saying. So there's you haven't had that time. So in your defense.
Exactly.
You're saying, hey, listen, I only started residential real estate in person about 2 weeks ago.
It's like yesterday.
I just went for my first in-person showing half an hour ago. What do you want from me? I've been doing Zoom showings for the past 2 years. So here's a good one for you, okay? I'll never forget this one. And it's not like the funniest, craziest story, but it happened. I remember it was like my first couple months of real estate, maybe like the first 6 months. And I'm on a showing, and I remember it was in the Fashion House. So on King Street, I'm in the condo on like the 18th floor or whatever, and I have the clients outside. And for the agency, sometimes when you're going out on showings and shit just starts going wrong. I don't know if you've ever felt this. Like shit just starts happening. It's like, oh, fuck. Like I just spilled something on my shirt when I got in the car. And then this happens. And then I scuffed my car coming into the parking lot. Like it just starts to stack.
For sure.
So it was one of those moments. I was late by 10 minutes. The guy was being an asshole, whatever it was. I could just feel like the energy lifting. So we get up to the 17th floor. I go to the stairwell. I go, guys, I'll be back in 1 second. Wait here. I'm going to go get the key from the lockbox. I get to the lockbox. I open up the lockbox. Sure enough, I put the code in, pop this lockbox open. Key goes flying up in the air and right down the center shaft of the stairwell. So now I'm looking down the stairwell like this, and I hear clink, 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 clink. Down the stairs, all the way down that center shaft. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? And I look down and I don't see the key. And I'm like, yeah, I got to get this key now. So then I'm like, I'm going to go tell my clients that, hey, I'm going to be back in a second. Give me one. This key just fell down the stairs. I'm going to go get it. Sure enough, I go open the door and I'm like all the way down the hall, far away. Like the agent put the lockbox very far away. The door's not opening. I didn't check before, and I don't know if you've ever had this. You walk into a stairwell and it doesn't open from the other side.
Yep.
Have you ever had that?
Yep.
So now I can't tell them that I'm in there. My phone has no service on it, so I can't text them. So now, sure enough, I'm going down the stairs. I'm all the way down. This key is like on level 3. So I just walk down, 14 flights of stairs. I get the key. None of the stairs open. I got to go out the lobby. This guy comes out. It's been like 20 minutes now. I come with the guy's like, buddy, where the hell have you been? I was like, listen, man, I don't know what to tell you. Let's just go into the place. Here's the best part about it. The guy bought the unit. We saw the unit and he ended up buying it, which was like a nice icing on the cake, So
that's pretty nice. Okay, well, I mean, like that kind of brings to my memory a showing that I did, years ago. I was in an industrial building we had listed out in Brampton, and I've got a client that I'm showing this building to, and stick the key into the front door, get inside, forgot the key in the front door. As we're walking through the warehouse space, and we're going to step out into the shipping yard. Also forget that the door locks from behind. So now we're trapped in the shipping court,
like in the back of the building.
In the shipping court outside of the building, the entire property is fenced. There's locks on both sides of the fence. There's no way that we can leave this shipping court. So picture me here in a in a sharp blue suit, white shirt. It's mid-July, super hot outside.
Schwitzing up, you're dripping.
I'm at a point where I'm like, well, I got to do what I got to do at this point. And so I start to scale the fence, and 2 or 3 attempts, fell down, scuffed my suit. And on the third, I managed to get up top, get over the fence, but tore my pants on my way down.
Suit's done.
So the suit's toast. I've got a meeting, downtown Toronto.
Oh, the day's not over yet.
In 45 minutes. And I'm like, well, my pants are ripped down the middle. But anyway, get inside the building, let the clients out, and they're sitting there just, round of applause, like, wow,
you did it.
You, like, we've never seen that before, and
Superstar real estate agent.
You must really want to sell this building. So anyway, rush downtown.
You're like, no, it's not this building. It's actually the next meeting I want to sell them.
But it didn't all end so well for me. I mean, like I showed up to my next meeting pretty late. I had to get a change of pants, of course.
You bought a new pair of pants?
No, I stopped off at home.
Okay.
But anyway, my showing up late, that client wasn't necessarily
impressed. It was just a shit fuck all the way down.
The ones from the building never ended up offering on that property. But
did they ever end up buying anything?
They did, but this would have been a little bit sweeter, I think. Just
to have the win after the suit.
Exactly.
You could have replaced it. It would have correlated better. Okay.
For sure.
It's a good one, man. That's a good one. Well, thank you for sharing your tale. And it's like I before I launched this podcast, I had this like idea, right, of doing this, and I was like, I've always asked agents like, "What's your story?" And I've heard so many. That's why I was like, "Hey, you know what? I got to do this. Like, we gotta." There's funny shit happens. Like,
for sure.
This happens. It's reality. We work hard. Yes, we're gonna do what we got to do. We'll negotiate. We're gonna present your place. We're gonna do everything we have to do. We're gonna get you qualified. We're gonna help you retain equity in your real estate, whatever it is. But you know what? Like, there's this side of real estate that happens. It's like, no, but I'm also going to scale a fence in my brand new Suit Supply suit. I'm going to rip the shit out of them, and I'm going to run home and do what I got to do. So it's like, it happens, right?
For sure.
So my last question for you, Rahim, and it's kind of where I was thinking about here. It's like, if there's an agent out there who's on the fence and thinking about like switching to one of these newer style brokerages, let it be Properly, condos.ca, property.ca, House Sigma, whatever it is, somewhere there where they're like this new brokerage model where you're being supported with leads being generated for you, what would be your biggest tip for them? Being you did this 2 years ago.
I think that there's probably some people out there that would assume that it's easy. My biggest tip: work hard. Like it boils down to that at the end of the day. You're going to get out what you put in, and whether or not you have a cold lead or a warm lead or no lead at all, you do have to spend the time building your business. You do have to put in the work required. One of the things that I notice these days from younger agents in the business, newer agents in the business, is them watching so and so and goes, okay, well, they do well enough. How hard could this really be? Earn your stripes.
Like a new agent that just got their license.
Totally.
Somebody that's a similar range of us, like below 40, they see someone making a couple $100,000 a year and they're just like, hey, I'm going to get my...
I could do that.
If they're making that kind of money, then I could be doing it. Right. Like, what are they doing? They're just like showing people places and making it happen.
Yeah. So, be prepared to do the work. One of the things that that kind of that could go unnoticed at times. I mean, sure, I'm busy and I love what I do, and had a phenomenal year last year and off to a great start this year as well. But people don't realize that I'm up at 4:30 a.m. every single day.
You're beating my 5.
I typically go to bed around 11. I'm typically working for the majority of those hours. I mean, I do get quiet time of about 2 hours in the morning, which is like me time, and going back to the non-negotiables.
Yeah, that's your time.
But
you're working in that time
other than that, you're it's go. So if you're, you also, you got to be passionate about real estate. You got to be passionate about what you're doing, because if you're not going to be motivated to put in those long, hard hours. They're going to feel like work. I mean, for me, they don't all the time.
I agree.
But you got to stick with it, and I mean, do it because you love it, not for the money.
And I think that's and I totally agree with you. And that's the sentiment. I've seen it. I know a lot of successful agents, you being one of them, and every one of them that I know that's successful, and even managing all the agents that I work with, it's like, if you do it out of love and out of passion, and you really like care, you're gonna, sky's the limit for you. You will keep going. You will keep growing. People will want to work with you. People will want to be around you because of that passion. They will choose you as their real estate agent for that passion over somebody else, because they can feel it. Versus the guy who is just there to make a paycheck, because that paycheck, yeah, you'll get the deal here and you get the deal there, but you know what? You're not going to be around for the long game. You know what? Because people are going to catch on to that, and you'll make some money, I'm sure, but you're not going to continue going. And B, the people who are really going to work with you, the people who like don't just buy one condo from you, the guy who's going to buy 2-3 houses a year or 4 or 5 pre-constructions a year, they're not going to want to work with that guy. They want somebody who's like, hey, I want to call Rahim, and I know that when he answers my call, like, I'm enjoying talking to him, or I'm enjoying talking to Josh. And that's who we want to be, right? Like, it's like, you want to be the guy who loves what they do, or the girl who loves what they do, and just, you're in it. So I appreciate that. I think a lot of people would appreciate that sentiment for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, if I could add one final thought, it's just really stepping away from, if you've ever got the TGIF mentality, you're likely not cut out for doing what you do and really loving what you do. I'm all about that TGIM mentality. Monday morning, fresh new week.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I agree. Love it, bro. Here's to that.
Cheers.
To the hustle, to the grind. Thanks for coming out.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's it, baby. Episode 2. My man Rahim. Follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Rahim Jaffer _416.
There you go. Check him out. Add him up. Get on there. Thank you for coming out. We'll see you guys next time. Ciao. Thanks, dude.
Thanks.
That's it.
That was fun.
Right?
That was good.
Right? It's different.